Hello, and welcome to another episode of Radio Hour. I'm Jason Weinberger, Pauline Barrett, Artistic Director of WCF Symphony, and Radio Hour is another in our series of programs we've developed during the pandemic to continue bringing you music at home or wherever you are during the time that we can't gather together in large groups. And the purpose of this series is very similar to some of the things we do in our concerts, which is to help listeners find connections between different types of music from different eras, music from different places. It's something that's been a feature of our work, and thought it'd be great to have a radio show that addressed this. The only big difference is instead of looking at scores and doing performances here, instead we're looking at the pathways of various different songs, of very different styles, as well as various different artists through the history of recordings. And I've always been a huge fan of recordings. I have a big music library, and this is kind of a way to, again, look at lineage in music, look at influence in music, but use the lens of recorded music instead of scores that we perform. So this time around, decided to do something that's a little bit outside of the bounds of orchestral music, although I certainly hope this piece that we're going to look at is something I can do with orchestra one day. Instead, we're going to step out to another favorite genre of mine, which is Brazilian music, and in particular, Brazilian music starting in the late 50s and flowering in the 1960s and 1970s, a period of incredible creativity in the Brazilian musical scene. And we're going to focus on one particular song. It's called Canto de Ossanha. And this song, certainly one of the most famous Brazilian tunes ever, was written by two incredible artists, Baden Powell, the guitarist, and the poet Vinícius de Moraes. And the two of them got together in the 1960s and began to explore the idea of combining samba, more formal style of music, with some of the Afro-Brazilian traditions that were out perhaps a little bit less so in the cities, but much more so in the rural areas. In fact, there's some conjecture that Baden Powell himself may have gone to the state of Bahia in Brazil to hear some of this music. There's also talk that Moraes actually introduced Baden Powell to some of this Afro-Brazilian music on record. We'll probably never know exactly what's true about this, but we do know that both men became very interested in trying to come up with this melding of styles. And this is something that we see going on in Brazilian music, but this becomes a very notable collaboration. In fact, this album they introduced in 1966 leads with this song, Canto de Ossanha. It's a hypnotic, Passacaglia-like opening section. And again, this goes beyond even Brazilian music. We can connect this to classical music, and in fact, Baden Powell himself was a wonderful classical guitarist. We'll talk about that later. But this is the lead of the album. After that kind of chant-like opening section, the sun comes out. We hear something very different before the minor mode returns at the end. Very unique piece of music. And it has been performed and covered by a whole range of artists, and that's what we'll be looking at today. But we'll start with the originals. Now, I say originals because there are several versions that Baden Powell himself performed, and I wanted you to have an opportunity to get to know each of them. The first one is that 1966 version with Moraes doing the vocals, and in the background you'll hear some vocal work by Quarteto MSI, which is another wonderful Brazilian group from this period. Baden Powell re-recorded the album in 1990 after Moraes had died, so Powell himself took over the vocals, but the same vocal support group is there, Quarteto MSI, this amazing Brazilian vocal quartet. So that's the second track on the list here. And then I'll follow that up with one final version that Baden Powell recorded himself. I don't know much about the actual details of this session, but this features some fabulous guitar playing, as do most of Baden Powell's recordings. So starting off our Canto Radio Hour with the three original recordings of Canto de Ossanha by Baden Powell and Vinícius de Moraes.